Well, we have reached pretty much the midway point of this National Football League season. We have had parades through the streets of Arlington, Texas. We've got young Cody wearing a Philly green shirt alongside his Emmy Award inside the Jonesing for Football studios there in Philadelphia. And we are ready to talk some football here. Right, young Cody?
I think so, Bill Jones. Or do you want to backtrack a little bit? We missed last week due to some baseball. It seemed like you were jonesing for baseball more than jonesing for football, which I understand. It was a big deal there. The Rangers winning the World Series. But I'm ready to talk football. But I mean, I understand if you want to tell me a story or two about some baseball.
Well, I've been playing catch up this week on football because I was Mr. Baseball last week. And I know that you probably live in a city that doesn't have very many world champions gracing its streets through the years, right? Yeah. And so just let me bring you up to speed. It's been an eventful last month here for the world champion Texas Rangers. And now the Cowboys are trying to work on. It's been 27 years. What we've had here in Dallas is the Rangers won a World Series finally, okay, in their 52nd year here. All right. The last time a world champion was crowned in Dallas was 12 years ago. That was 2011. That was Dirk and the Mavericks.
Yep.
Prior to that, it was 12 years ago, which was the Dallas Stars, Mike Modano, Brett Hall, and the Dallas Stars in the Stanley Cup in 1999. And then prior to that, the 1995 season, January of 96, was when the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. So there you have. We've had the triumvirate of the Stars, Mavericks, and Rangers have all been to the promised land now since the Cowboys went.
I like that, Bill Jones. Well, you got to be feeling pretty good about your Cowboys' chances to win the Super Bowl this year after the pretty decent performance they put up against the Eagles in Philadelphia. Would you agree?
I feel very good that the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl this week against Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants. That's what I feel good about.
I would agree with you, Bill Jones. By the way, my shirt, they call it Kelly green.
I was going to say Kelly green, but I wasn't sure the shade of it.
Okay. Yeah, they call it Kelly green. And am I wearing it because the Eagles beat the Cowboys again? Yes, of course I am. So
I figured you were.
All right,
You're
Bill.
Trolling is what you're doing. You're trolling.
A little bit. You know, we have to do that to each other here and there. Are you ready to talk some football?
Sure. Let's do it. Let's do
get at it. All right. Here we go. Let's lay out the rundown so everybody remembers, including us, since we took the week off. We're going to start by breaking down the Cowboys matchup with the Giants. Then we're going to do our must-watch game of the week. Then we're going to do pressures on, which I realized I really only talk about quarterbacks and pressures on, and I'm talking about another quarterback today for the record. And then we're going to do our Week 10 guarantees. We're still tied, Bill Jones, with our guarantees, so one of us can grab the lead. But let's kick things off with the Cowboys preview this week. Huge favorite, 16.5 points last I saw, hosting the 2-7 Giants, who have the league's worst point differential. So, Bill Jones, give us a few things to watch on Sunday.
In preparation for this game, should we watch the season opener, which was won by the Cowboys 40-0 over the New York Giants?
I think most people assume the score will be similar this week as well.
It may be more than that against this New York Giants team. The Giants can't score any less than they did the last time against the Cowboys. And now it's not Daniel Jones. It's not Tyrod Taylor. It is Tommy DeVito, the rookie out of Illinois/Syracuse. More on him coming up a little bit later here on Jonesing for Football, by the way. Excuse me. It's a bounce back game for the Cowboys too, after what happened in Philadelphia the other day. You sound like you feel pretty good about the Cowboys after that performance. You think that the Cowboys are on a level footing with the Eagles in that NFC East?
I thought that for most of the year, that they're two similar teams. Micah Parsons, we know Micah, he said they have more confidence now after they played the Eagles so tough.
Yes, yes. And now it's just a question of looking ahead the next month, running the table, and they actually could have a better record than the Eagles the next time these two teams meet December 10th at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. If you look ahead on the schedule, which we are prone to do here on Jonesing for Football, starting with this Giants game, not overlooking the Giants, of course, not overlooking,
Kinda. Well,
not,
kinda.
not overlooking the Carolina Panthers the following week.
Well, kinda.
Not overlooking the Washington Commanders on Thanksgiving Day.
Can't overlook that one.
No. And not overlooking the Seattle Seahawks on the following Thursday night.
Definitely can't overlook that one.
How'd the Seahawks do on the road this past week?
They got spanked.
Yes, they did.
More on that coming up here in Jones on later.
Okay. All right. Where do we start with previewing the Cowboys Giants? Well, we start with what? Well, you tell me where we start.
Well, why don't I just ask you some questions, Bill Jones?
Okay.
Because I feel like instead of getting into the X's and O's of this game,
what I'm having a hard time is getting motivated to dive into Cowboys versus Giants.
Yeah.
I have to host the Mike McCarthy show, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I present the New York Giants? Hey, this is what maybe I do. I present the Arizona Cardinals to the coach. The only game the Cardinals won this year was against the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, you can also spin it as it's the midway point of the season. So you can ask half of your questions about the Cowboys at the midway point.
Yeah, there you go. That's a bailout. Okay,
yeah,
there
exactly.
we go.
Then the other half about the actual Giants.
Yeah.
And this is a bad sign. If you're not motivated to talk about the Giants, then I'm not sure the Cowboys will be all that motivated to play against the Giants. But it's probably smarter that we just hit some big picture topics rather than get into the X's and O's and how the Giants have all the injuries and the third string quarterback and didn't score the first time they played. So let me ask you, Bill Jones, about the red zone issues of the Dallas Cowboys, because they came back to haunt them yet again against the Eagles. They're now bottom 5 in red zone points per possession. Last year, they were number 1 in the league, and now they're bottom 5. So how much do you blame their red zone issues on a lack of a run game?
In other words, how much do I blame the lack of red zone issues on Ezekiel Elliott being in the with the New England Patriots now? Is that what you're asking?
Well, or a new offensive coordinator. That's also something else that's changed.
Clearly, there are red zone issues getting the football in the end zone. Even when they get the football across the goal line and in the end zone, it gets overturned. Luke Schoonmaker.
That wasn't a touchdown, Bill Jones. That's pretty simple.
It was a touchdown, but
should have never been ruled a touchdown.
It was incorrectly reviewed.
It was incorrectly called a touchdown.
No, it was incorrectly reviewed. When is a catch? Go look at the rule book.
When you have possession, he had possession short of the goal line.
You have to have, it's A, you have control of the ball, B, you're in bounds, and C, you make a football move. For example, tuck the ball away. He doesn't tuck the ball away until he's laying on the goal line. It was incorrectly reviewed.
I disagree. But tell me,
it's not when the ball touches the player. Okay.
When he makes possession.
Go look at the rule book. The rule book says A, B, and C. You have to make a football move. You have to tuck it away. That's a football move. Go ahead. All right.
How much are the running game issues a problem with the red zone?
It's a big problem. Big problem. And it's not based on the running back. It is on what's happened in the offensive line up front for the Cowboys.
I think it's a combination, don't you?
Well, if there's not a hole now, having said that, Zeke got the reason I like Zeke is he could get everything that there is to get on a play. And he's got that big old head and he can thrust himself forward and get, Tony Pollard's a different type back. Yeah, he can run between the tackles, but to get the best out of Tony Pollard, you need a Zeke Elliott alongside him, I believe. To the point,
or Leonard Fournette.
So a bigger back who can do the dirty work inside. That's right.
Correct.
And push a pile. And,
Yep.
Jalen Hurts, if he was the size of Kyler Murray, that tush push doesn't work as well. But when you got a bigger body pushing forward, then you're able to get the extra yards inside and turn that 1st and goal at the 3 into 2nd and goal at the 1 into a touchdown on the 2nd or 3rd down play if you wanted. But as an example, in that game against the Eagles, because I had so little confidence that the Cowboys could score a touchdown at the end of that game, that with 1:17 left in the game and they still got 3 timeouts left facing 4th and 8 at the 29-yard line, I was in favor of kicking a 47-yard field goal.
Of course.
And cut the lead to 2. You still got 3 timeouts. You kick it deep. You get a 3 and out like they did. And now you only have to get to the 35-yard line at the end of the game instead of in the end zone.
Yep.
And I didn't hear it on the broadcast even mentioned as a possibility. And then when I bring it up to people around here this week, they're like, "Oh no, you got to go for it there. You have to go for it there." No, why do you have to go for it there?
Correct.
So
let me say this, Bill Jones, quickly about the red zone. The lack of a running game in the red zone. This is where another issue that it pops up. Giveaways in the red zone. The Cowboys have 3 giveaways in the red zone already this year on 32 red zone possessions. Last year, they had 1 red zone giveaway in 56 red zone drives. So when you can't run it, it increases the chances you turn the ball over. It increases the chances false starts, holding penalties. Did we see any of those on the last drive? And then that's how 1st and goal on the 5 turns into 3rd and 1,000,000 on the 26-yard line. It's all that stuff is part of it. And I think a huge issue that the Cowboys have.
There are 12 red zone touchdowns playing for the New England Patriots this year.
There you go. All right. My next question for you. One area the Cowboys focused on improving in the offseason was their rush defense. Bill Jones, 22nd against the run last year. They're allowing 20 less yards per game this year and have only given up 15 carries of 10-plus yards, which is among the fewest in the league. What have you noticed about the Cowboys defense that has improved their rush defense, which I know everybody was concerned about in the offseason?
It's improved. But I look at the first half of the season, they've had so many blowout games that I still don't think the sample size, even after 8 games, I don't think the sample size is large enough for us to make a great gauge on how much it's improved. And because they're ahead by so much, other teams aren't running the football. And so, and then I also look at the bigger picture of the entire league. If you look around the league, and I haven't looked at the total rushing yards, but I look at individual 100-yard rushing performances this year, and they appear to be down, especially in the last month. In fact, I looked up last week, there was one 100-yard game by a running back in the league. That was Keaton Mitchell with the Ravens, who had 150 on 8 carries or something like that.
Yeah, he broke a big one. Yeah.
And but over the last 4 weeks, there's only been 7 players who have rushed for 100 yards over the last 4 weeks of the season. So it's almost like teams around the league have abandoned the run to the point that they haven't established the run because of the passing game is so prevalent, and the short passing game, which is taken, they look at the bubble screens as being the equivalent of a run game. And so I think the jury is still out as we get into the winter months to see just how strong I think the Cowboys run defense is better. It remains to be seen how much better once they get into more close games. They couldn't stop the Eagles when the game was on the line in the third quarter. The Eagles took control of that game with 2 long touchdown drives. and it was a mix of run and pass there in the third quarter of that game.
So this season, the Cowboys are allowing 4.0 run or yards per carry. So 4.0. Last year, it was 4.4 yards per carry. So, roughly 10-ish% better there. The other number that I mentioned, and I think this is important, the Cowboys gave up 67 rushes of 10 plus yards last year. 67. That was 29th in the league. So a ton of them, which is a lot considering they won 12 games. So they were ahead a lot during the season. This year, like I said, they've only given up 15. So I think they're top 3 in the league. So they're significantly better in that area. So it's definitely better to this point of the year, that rush.
And part of it is Jonathan Hankins in the middle. They've had him healthy all year, and they didn't acquire him until this time last year. And then he got hurt shortly after they traded for him. So they've got more beef in the middle of their.
And Marquise Bell wrecking shop in the backfield.
I mean, you got a safety playing linebacker right now. So
there you go.
That's right.
All right. Are you ready to do a must-watch game of the week, Mr. Jones?
I am.
Why don't you? Yeah, start us off. Which game are you picking here?
Well, I've got 2.
I like it.
I will dwell. I will just scan one and then dwell on the other. The one I will scan is the quarterback matchup of the week, and you know what that is.
What are you thinking?
Joe Burrow versus CJ Stroud.
I like that. 2 Ohio boys. That's how we do it.
Quarterback matchup of the week: Houston at Cincinnati. The Texans at 4-4. The Bengals at 5-3 on a roll with Joe Burrow, but CJ Stroud coming off his big game last week. So I just gloss over that one. I love that matchup just because of the quarterbacks. Okay, I want to see what CJ can do bouncing back, or not bouncing back, but off of the tremendous performance he had last week.
That's high-level quarterback play there, Bill Jones. Couple Buckeyes going back and forth.
But I'm more intrigued by the center matchup of the week. And that would be Luke Fortner and the Jacksonville Jaguars playing host to Jake Brendel and the San Francisco 49ers.
This is unique analysis you only get here on Jonesing for Football. No one has ever said, I'm excited about the center matchup of a football game.
Yeah. And I think Jacksonville has the edge there at center. Luke
Fortner, of course you do.
Jake Brendel.
Yeah, of course you do.
Yes. But how about this? San Francisco and Jacksonville, both teams coming off bye weeks. So this is like the Super Bowl for both teams. Okay. They've had 2 weeks to prepare, a week to rest, and then a week to get ready. San Francisco coming off 3 straight losses. Jacksonville with 5 straight wins. Oh my, Jacksonville's got them at home. Jacksonville is getting healthier coming out of the bye week. Tyson Campbell and Andre Cisco have both been out the last few weeks in the secondary, both with hamstring injuries. They look like they may be good to go this week. San Francisco's getting healthier. Not sure about Trent Williams, if he's going to play quarterback. He looks like he might be good to go because he was throwing a football on the side during practice this week. But I'm not sure if he's ready to go at left tackle. But Debo is back for the Niners apparently this week. So you got to love that. How is this a noon game? Wow, San Francisco at Jacksonville. So that's another factor. It's a noon game, Dallas time.
Shouldn't we move the flex schedules up a little bit? Can't we get this flexed to Sunday night instead of the Jets and Raiders?
Yeah. Jets Raiders is the Sunday night game. That was an easy call, and I thought they could do that. There was a couple of weeks ago, there was a report that, oh my, they're keeping the Jets on Sunday night.
Yeah, I know. Well,
and they could have done this because, I mean, especially with the Niners and Jags playing bye weeks last week, they knew 2 weeks ago that this was a 5-3 San Francisco team against a 6-2 Jacksonville team.
Yeah.
San Francisco, I know you probably have it at the ready there. West Coast teams going to play on the East Coast and playing at 10 a.m. or whatever time it would be. It would be 10 a.m. San Francisco time. I think the Niners are going to go in there, though, and they are going to beat up the Jacksonville Jaguars because the Niners, having lost 3 in a row, they are ready to get back on track. And what better place to do it than against the hottest team going, the Jacksonville Jaguars, with a 5-game win streak.
I was going to ask you, so who do you like in this game? You're taking the Niners?
I'm taking the Niners. Yep. I'm taking the Niners on the road. The more you lose, if you're the Niners, the more you lose in this league, the closer you are to winning. And they've lost 3 in a row. I don't see them losing 4 straight games. And Jacksonville, I like Trevor Lawrence. I like Jacksonville, what they've got, but it's still Jacksonville, isn't it?
Well, the Jags are really good against everybody, not named the Kansas City Chiefs. So, but I'm with you. I would take the Niners in this game, assuming that they're healthy, assuming that Trent plays, Debo's in. Niners are still tough. I like that one.
Jacksonville, and you look, they also can't play the CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans very well either. They lost to the Texans 37-17. That was their last loss on September 24th. But their wins, Atlanta 23-7,
yep.
Buffalo 25-20.
Predicted by me.
Indy 37-20, at New Orleans 31-24, at Pittsburgh 20-10. Didn't Pickett get hurt in that game? That was when Trubisky came in for him, I think. And
have a pretty good resume, though. I mean, the Falcons aren't terrible. The Steelers are 5-3. They have a pretty good resume.
Yeah, but it's not. This would be now. The Buffalo win's a good win.
Yep.
On the road at Buffalo, mind you. But this would be their best win if they beat San Francisco.
Yeah. All right. My must-watch game of the week is ultra important, involving 2 teams in the best division in football. It's Browns at Ravens. Before jumping into this, it's worth noting, Mr. Jones, if the playoffs started this week, all 4 AFC North teams would make the playoffs, which has not happened since realignment. Let me begin with my Cleveland Browns, 5-3. Pretty amazing considering Deshaun Watson has missed almost 4 full games. With him, they are 3-1. Without him, 2-2. And I know Kevin Stefanski takes a lot of heat, and rightfully so sometimes, but he deserves a ton of credit for overcoming Deshaun's mysterious shoulder injury, multiple backup quarterbacks, losing Nick Chubb, Jack Conklin, and now Jedrick Wills. And amazingly, the Browns are the number 6 seed right now in the AFC. Obviously, their defense has been incredible. Best in the NFL in a number of categories, including yards allowed per game, third downs, fewest 10-plus yard plays. And I cannot wait to see that Jim Schwartz-led group go against Lamar Jackson again. Switching to the other sidelines, Bill Jones, I'm going to give you the most under-discussed storyline in the NFL right now, far and away. No one is talking about this, and it's wrong. It's Baltimore's potentially historic defense. I know I said the Browns are number 1 in a lot of categories, but the ones they are not number 1 in, Baltimore is number 1 in all of those. Listen to this, Bill Jones. The Ravens are number 1 in sacks. They're on pace for 66, which would be top 10 in NFL history. They are number 1 in points allowed, which would be the 3rd fewest in Ravens history. And we know they have had great defenses forever there in Baltimore. They are number 1 in yards allowed per play. They're on pace to give up the 2nd fewest yards per play in the league since 2000. This group is unbelievable. No one's talking about it because everyone's hyping Lamar and giving him all the MVP love, but the defense deserves more headlines. The first time they played was week 4. The Ravens won 28-3, but it wasn't a real indication of these two teams. DTR started for Cleveland, and Baltimore's defense ate him alive. But with Watson, it'll be much closer on Sunday. And Bill Jones, I'm predicting an upset. Give me the Cleveland Browns on the road in Baltimore. They are 6-point underdogs, but I like them to win outright against the Ravens.
What's going on at the quarterback position in Cleveland these days?
Deshaun Watson, baby. Back and better than ever. Let's go.
So he's back.
He's back.
Okay.
And played well. He's been over 100 passer rating each of his last 2 starts.
All right. I'm looking back at who Baltimore has played. And first game of the year, Houston. First start ever for C.J. Stroud. Burrow, we knew what was happening with Burrow when they played Cincinnati. Okay. Yep. They won by 3. Then they played Indianapolis. As you mentioned, DTR in Cleveland. Pittsburgh, they lost to Pittsburgh, 17-10. Then they at Tennessee. Okay, we know what's going on there at quarterback. That great win over Detroit, 38-6.
Banked them.
And then at Arizona, we know what's going on at quarterback there. And Seattle, they spanked them at home.
Yep.
So
the best point differential in the league by far is the Baltimore Ravens. Plus 115. Second in the league is Buffalo at plus 80. So Baltimore has by far the best point differential.
Well, I can't wait.
I also want to note this, Bill Jones, before we go on. Defensive Player of the Year odds. Myles Garrett, the current front runner. I picked him. He's tied with Micah Parsons as the front runner. You picked him. Of course, you pick Micah every year to win Defensive Player of the Year. So both of our picks are playing well. And
Mike is still up there?
Right.
Mike is still up there?
He's tied for the lead with Myles Garrett.
You know, I like your pick of Cleveland at Baltimore, but I am more intrigued by Baltimore's next game 4 days later when they play Cincinnati in a healthy Joe Burrow.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, and then that's when I will become a believer in the obviously Baltimore's got a good defense, but Let's see what a healthy Joe Burrow does against their defense.
I agree. A measuring stick for both teams, I think.
So did I just give away my matchup of the week next week, a Thursday night game?
We can't do Thursdays, Bill Jones.
That's right. And that's the only reason why I didn't pick this week's Thursday game, which is Carolina at Chicago.
Of course. Yeah, we were both going to pick that. We fought over that game. All right. How about some pressures on? Who are you feeling this week?
You know who the pressure's on?
Of course I do. I have my own answer, but it's going to be different.
The pressure is on New York Giants quarterback Tommy DeVito. Would you agree with that?
Kind of, sort of. I actually think it's probably more on New York Jets quarterback Zach Wilson, but both quarterbacks are facing
Tommy DeVito. And it's not because he's going up against Micah Parsons and this Dallas defense. The pressure is on Tommy DeVito because he's a Jersey guy.
Yep.
And he has to live up to the legacy of the greatest Tommy DeVito ever, who was the founder of the Four Seasons, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, and Jersey boys, Tommy DeVito. How amazing is it that the quarterback of the New York Giants, and I haven't done the research to figure out whether he's related to the Tommy DeVito who passed away at age 92 4 years ago, who was the founder. Have you heard of the Four Seasons? Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, young Cody?
Yeah, that's a hotel chain, right?
It is a hotel chain, yes. But Frankie Valli, our most loyal listener, one Babe Laufenberg, he's on his elliptical right now, singing the tunes of Big Girls Don't Cry. Do you know that song? Big girls don't cry. They don't cry, right? Or
I do know that one. That's
oh,
probably
what
the
a
only one I
night,
do know.
late December back in 63. Okay. It's
I
just a
do know
shame.
that one.
It's a shame Tommy DeVito's not playing the Dallas Cowboys on national television in December of 2023 instead of December 63. Oh, what it needs to be. This needs to be a Sunday night or a Monday night game in December with Tommy DeVito playing quarterback for the New York Giants. Oh, what a night. Late December back in 63.
You
Anyway,
have a great singing voice. Has anyone ever told you
thank you.
that?
I'm a little hoarse this morning, but that's because I was singing this doing my research last night.
That's because you've been up hard.
Sherry baby, Sherry, Sherry baby. Oh my, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. That's Tommy DeVito. He was the founder of the Four Seasons. It's not Tommy DeVito out of Illinois and Syracuse, who's from New Jersey. By the way, he went to Don Bosco Prep, same high school that produced whom?
I don't know, but I know they're a mega famous high school that has a ton of athletes.
Chris Sims, one of the quarterbacks out of Don Bosco Prep.
Yeah, I think
so. Anyway, the pressure is on Tommy DeVito to live up to the name Tommy DeVito, a legend in Jersey.
Well, thank you, Bill Jones. That was an amazing display of singing vocals right there. We'll never forget that. The legend that's memorable here on Jonesing for Football. All right, I'm going to apply some pressure on Derek Carr of the Saints, visiting the surging Vikings this week. Let me set the scene for you there in New Orleans. 5-4, leading the NFC South, but offensively, it hasn't been pretty. 22nd in yards per play, 23rd in big plays, 28th in red zone TD efficiency. And when I talk to my Saints fans, and I have a lot of friends that are Saints fans, all of them are blaming Derek Carr and a little bit of Dennis Allen, but mostly Derek Carr. Here's why Sunday's game is super important. I'll say this. With a win in Minnesota by the Saints, they will essentially lock up a playoff spot. They'd be 6-4 with 7 games left, but only 1 against a team with a winning record. So they're staring at 10 or 11 wins, just like one of us predicted. Bill Jones, was that you or was that me? I don't really remember. Okay.
So they're at 6-4. They will wrap up a playoff spot, essentially, even if they lose their last 7 games.
They're not losing the last 7 games.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. They're staring at 10 or 11 wins. One of us called that. I can't remember which one of us. Anyway, but a loss to Josh Dobbs and the Vikings, and this thing could get off the rails really quick. Next week in Atlanta. Then they're at home against the Lions, and who knows from there. But all I'll say is the Saints must make the playoffs, or fans will be calling for a new quarterback and a new head coach. So Carr's status in New Orleans could very well hinge on this week's game. Pressure's on you, Derek Carr. Get it together.
All right, let me get this straight. So if they win this game, their schedule is easier the rest of the way. But if they lose this game, their schedule is harder the rest of the way.
No, I'm saying if they lose this game, they're going to be 5-5, and there's going to be a lot of heat on the entire organization from there. And then who knows? They're unstable. Then you got the Falcons on the road, and then the Lions, and then it could get bad.
Okay.
And this is the other thing that's actually interesting.
Give me something interesting now.
Jaden Daniels, the LSU quarterback, is on fire, and everybody down there loves him, and they would love for him to take Derek Carr's spot in New Orleans.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do. Who's that again?
Jaden Daniels, quarterback from LSU.
Okay.
33 touchdowns, only 4 picks.
That's right. If he's that good, how are they going to get him with 4 losses?
They might have to trade up. I don't know, but I'm saying there's going to be a lot of people wanting a new quarterback there in New Orleans. All right. Are you ready to do a little guarantee, Bill Jones?
I am.
All right. You want me to recap how we did back in week 8, last time we made predictions?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. You said the Eagles were going to have at least 8 sacks against the Commanders. That was actually a good prediction. I thought I actually had a chance to hit. It did not. One of the shockers of the season, they only had 1 sack against Washington in that game. I said Khalil Mack would have multiple sacks in a revenge game against the Bears. He had 0. So we both missed. But we got 2 guarantees that we've nailed so far this year. But this week, we make it happen. So give us your week 10 guarantee, Mr. Jones.
I'm going to hearken back to the Houston-Cincinnati game.
Great.
CJ Stroud against the Cincinnati defense. How many picks has CJ Stroud thrown this season?
1.
That's right. The Texans rank first in the league in fewest interceptions thrown, with that 1 by CJ Stroud against 14 touchdown passes for him.
Dude's a stud.
Which team in the league has the most interceptions?
Good question. Maybe the Bengals?
The Bengals rank first in the league in interceptions. Here is my guarantee. Linebacker Logan Wilson, who has 3 picks this year, will intercept CJ Stroud.
Okay.
What do you think of that?
I like that one. That's good, Bill Jones. I like that a lot. Logan Wilson.
Because I could have gone the easy way out. I could have said the Bengals defense will have an interception of CJ Stroud or 2 interceptions. But I'm specific here. I'm specifically telling you that the ball hawking machine at linebacker for the Bengals, number 55, Logan Wilson, will intercept CJ Stroud.
I love Logan Wilson, and I love CJ Stroud. Logan was one of my draft crushes from a handful of years ago. Love him. He's doing a great job.
You hit on another one.
All right. Good call there by you, Bill Jones. All right. Here's my guarantee. As you know, I like the Seahawks, and I think they have a lot of high-end talent, plus as many under the radar good players as any team in the league. That's why Seattle is actually good. A ton of under the radar, really good players. Despite the beatdown in Baltimore, 37-3 last week, I still think they're a playoff team. This week they host Washington. Seattle is 6.5-point favorites. I think they're going to cover that, and not only cover that, they're going to double it. So my guarantee is the Seahawks win by at least 13 points on Sunday against the 4-5 Commanders.
I like that.
Commanders coming off a win. Seattle, after getting smoked last week, they win by 13 or more.
Where did Seattle play that game last week?
Baltimore.
Yeah, that's a long trip. That is a long trip from Seattle to Baltimore. Where's this game being played?
Lovely Seattle, Washington. One of my favorite cities.
It's a long trip from D.C. to Seattle. And so the table will be turned this week, and it will be a blowout win for the Seahawks. I agree.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Which makes my pick of San Francisco over Jacksonville to be even that much more striking, that a team can travel that distance and win a football game.
That's true, Bill Jones. I looked this up last week when we were going to do the podcast, and then we had to cancel. It's actually, let me go find it. Before last week, the Seahawks were 15-4 in games kicking off at 10 a.m. Pacific, dating back to 2018. So last week, I really thought they had a good shot against Baltimore, just based on track record and Pete Carroll getting guys ready for that trip. But obviously, it did not happen.
It did not happen. And so now we find out this week when Baltimore hosts, they do host Cleveland, right?
They do.
Yeah. So they got 3 straight home games then. Most teams do have a stretch of 3 straight home games. They got Seattle, Cleveland, and then they got Cincinnati at home on Thursday. So.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right. Very good. I enjoyed this. Would you like for me to sing us out with a little more Tommy DeVito?
Yeah, please. Do you have another song prepared?
I actually don't, but You'll just have to.
Bill Jones, here's a tip. You always got to save one for the encore.
I know.
When the crowd brings you back out, you gotta have one ready to go.
Oh, what a podcast. Early November back in 23. Oh, what fun young Cody and me had. Oh, what a podcast.
Beautiful. That's terrific.
Okay, that does it. I can't post this now on YouTube because of the rights.
Music rights.
Songs, right? It's going to be interesting.
We didn't get those cleared.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You'll know how great my singing voice is if YouTube flags this as nope, you cannot. There's copyright laws, right?
We're going to be like the Eagles offensive line and start a Christmas album.
Oh, that's a good idea. Cowboys did that some 40 years ago. Danny White led the charge, had a Christmas album. Maybe we'll play that on future episodes of Jonesing for Football.
Cool. You can sing. I'll just dance. I'll be a backup dancer.
All right. Tom Landry actually participated in those music videos back in the day.
So, really?
Yeah.
That's shocking.
Yep. All right. That does it for this week. Have a great football weekend, and we will see you again next week on the next edition of Jonesing
for Football. Love you, babe.